Will the clerk please call the roll?
Benson,
Here.
Hanford, Valencia,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Stelling.
Here.
Okay, and before we approve the consent agenda, I'd ask that we go ahead and change the order of our agenda just slightly to allow for legal counsel Rick Cunningham to arrive. He is going to be here, but with that, we'll push item number 6, the appointment of Brandon Sherman, to a time when he's present to help us go through that process of appointment. And now for item number 4, we'll have discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at City Council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. Item A is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 3rd, 2016. And item B, approval of claims in the amount of $44,598.38 and payroll expenses of $112,753.52. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion by Councilman Benson, a second by Councilman Fisher to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Benson,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
All right. Item 8, reports from boards and officers. Mr. Dunham, could you please give us a report from the library board?
Yes, I've been working with the library, and it was reported at the meeting that we're trying to get some repair of the masonry out front. Right now, we've located a company that can do that repair. The city's going to end up having to rent the lift and purchase the material independently. But we've got somebody that can make those repairs for around $5,000. There is an ongoing, like most things in that area, there's an ongoing pigeon nuisance. Right now, we've got maybe a pigeon that's down in some of the ductwork. We've got what we're going to try to do is have a chimney sweep come in and sweep that ductwork and force those pigeons out. We think we've located, if they're there, force them out. We've located where they're getting into the vents at, and then once everything is for sure out of the ductwork, we will come back in with chicken wire and fence in around to prevent them from getting back down in there. Sandra reported at the last department head meeting that the storybook walk that they had, that NWOSU helped put on a couple of weeks ago, went over very well. They had roughly 50 attendees to that. They're looking at trying to do that on a more regular basis, and looking at working a little bit more with some of the schools to keep them from having to cross as many streets as what they had to cross when they did that. But it was a very worthwhile event, and they are looking to do it more often. Also, on their annual book sale, it is still going on. They have books that have been donated that are for sale, and that would be the extent of what I know about the meeting on the 4th. Mayor and Council.
Does council have any questions regarding the library board meeting? Thank you, Joe. Next is the Alva Airport Commission and the Finance Committee reports. Councilman Miller, will you address this council for your last time, please?
You bet. Alva Airport Commission met last Monday. I had discussion about the South Share hangar repair. The east side of that hangar repair for the tarmac where the water is actually running back into the hangars because the ramp was higher than the building due to an overlay, asphalt overlay 20 years ago. That has been corrected. There is still an issue of a large, I'll call it a ditch for lack of better terms, but that's going to be remedied with some ramps. The renters of that hangar are fine with that until the ramp is actually repaired at a later date. It is on the FAA list of items to be repaired with grant money in the next 3 to 5 years should another project of more importance not pop up. There was discussion about maybe a little bit larger repair on the west side since that's where the storms typically come from, and we do get an actual kind of storm surge water coming up there and more water coming in. The commission decided to not change the scope of work on that repair and do the same thing that they did on the east side, just because of the same fact of in several years that's on the list of money, grant money coming in to repair that in a much larger scale. So that repair is ongoing on right now. I suspect it'll take them about the same amount of time it took them last time, which was around a week to 10 days, maybe.
They're in there working
They had
now.
weather delays on the last one,
Yeah.
really, so if the weather holds, they should be done.
Yeah, I expect them to be done by the end of the week.
So, hopefully that's going to take care of that water issue in that hangar, and tenants can then not have to worry about water running in. Further discussion on new hangar construction that will take place. The new eight-pack hangar will be delivered in December, so there is some dirt work that has to be done. Bids were opened, and I believe they decided to accept the lowest best bid. It was from Shirley.
Yes, Shirley
Dozer
does.
Service from Alva. So they'll get started on that. I believe they thought they had a week or two before they could start, and estimated that should take about a week to get completed. And then bids for the concrete are opening
Friday.
Okay. So at the next airport commission, they can decide on who to use for concrete work, and that hangar should be, when it's delivered in December, the company that is supplying that also supplies the labor. They suspect a week, maybe 2 weeks for construction, and that would be completed, and then there's probably another month or two electrical exterior work that has to be done around that building. So by March, the airport's expecting to have those hangars open and ready for rental. Still discussion on what rental fees should be. Hopefully whoever the mayor appoints will continue to bring that information back here for you guys to discuss. I think it's very important that this council be aware of what rents are for new construction buildings that are not built with donated money. As long as it's taxpayer money that's funding that, I hope that the new member of that board will bring that information back here so that this committee is well aware of, or so that this council is well aware of where those rents are set and how and why. That was, and there was one person present at that meeting wanting to make sure that that rent was not above and beyond the going rate for our area, and that is important. You can't have it priced so high that nobody rents them. But that finalized that meeting. The Finance Committee met this evening. Main topic is our sales tax receipts are down about 25% from this time last year. Additionally, we're down about 20% from what we budgeted. Our expenses, we are still right there at what we budgeted for our expenses, but we are very closely watching sales and use tax, which has had a very large downturn from what we budgeted. We are only about 3-4 months into the year, so there's a lot of year left, but we can only go by what we've had over the last several years. Obviously, the last 5 years have been very good, and we're seeing the downturn from that. We are right now about sales use tax collection-wise where we were in 9, 10, 10, and 11 in that area. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we have had additional expenses. Health insurance is not getting any cheaper, and that's an expense we can't control. We do try to do that through different plans, different deductibles, but you can only do that for so long. We do want to ensure that our employees are employed, and looking for ways to make sure we don't have to do drastic measures such as furloughs and such as that. So right now, that's not even something that is a concern. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that there are cities around that are doing furloughs. We're not considering that at this time. That's not, we've got other places that we can save money without having to start cutting personnel. That was the major discussion that we had tonight. There was a little bit over the federal change on new employee time tracking that will happen in December. There was slight little discussion on the cost of that program as well. Don's still diligently looking at other suppliers for that time tracking equipment. Everybody's got questions on that?
Does council have any questions for Mr. Miller? Well, thank you, Wes. It has been a pleasure having you as on this council and in serving in all the capacities that you've served in, and we wish you nothing but the best in your new venture. And so I'll start my report by saying we had, I've been busy trying to determine suitable replacements for Mr. Melton, whose last meeting was last time, and then as well as Mr. Miller and Mr. Fisher, who are having their last meetings this evening. I am still in the process of making final determinations. I've pretty well got Ward 3 nailed down, and I've brought the individuals under consideration to the attention of everybody on the council. So I'll be nailing that down, and we will have someone to approve at the next council meeting for Ward 3, Seat 2. Ward 1, Seat 1, I have been given a few suggestions. Haven't had anybody express interest in taking one of those positions. I do have some more people to follow up with, though. So if you're familiar with anyone in Ward 1 that may be able to take over Mr. Fisher's seat, I would certainly enjoy the input from the council members. Other than that, we had, I'll commend the, I guess, the Economic Development Director, Alex, for the work put into the Fall Festival that occurred here a few weeks, or last weekend. I'm just guessing around 200 or 300 people, on the square on an OU Texas weekend. So it was, I would say, that's a pretty good crowd considering everything else that was going on. It was 200 or 300 people downtown that wouldn't have been downtown otherwise. So that was a good event, good participation from local businesses as well as nonprofits and churches. So at that, kind of back to the appointments with, there will be vacancies on committees. I may be asking some of you that are continuing on the council to consider other committee work, depending on what composition of council members we ultimately end up with, so we can try to get best suited people in our committees where we can have the most effective approach. At that, I would be happy to entertain any questions from the council. Thank you. We'll do the business manager's report, and then we'll jump up to items 6 and 7. Joe Don.
First, I'd like to kind of report on a few of our projects that we've got going on. The ARC mowing and maintenance bids, the board for ARC did reject all those bids. We are currently looking at how we can self-perform some of this work. One of the things that's come up with here recently, because we're timing it out on what needs to be done first. First thing that we really need to be replacing or looking at is our sprinkler systems out there. And it's come to our attention here recently that the sprinkler systems require about 60 pounds of pressure. And typically our pressure is about 55 pounds in that area. We're going to have to look at ways to increase that pressure for those sprinkler systems. And as we look at that and are reevaluating that, we are also looking at ways to effectively meter the water that's being used out there. The other project that's going on at ARC is the construction of shade structures over the softball fields. Right now, we're looking at a couple of different designs. I've gotten a couple of different quotes in. The price range looks like it's going to be, at least for materials, anywhere from about $48,000 to $75,000. Then we're going to have some installation cost on top of that. But the shade structures will be a pretty important topic that we'll cover on Wednesday night. Again, I think Councilman Miller covered everything going on at the South Share hangar repairs. I don't think I have anything to add there. I think he covered everything for the T hangar. I don't think I've got anything to add there. The Business Ordinance Committee did have their one of their final meetings here recently. And I've taken all the draft of changes that we'd like to see made. I've taken them to the attorney and turned them over to him to kind of put them into an ordinance form so that we can evaluate them. The ordinance committee can evaluate them one last time before being brought here to this committee. Last week, specifically the 11th and 12th of October, OMRF was here. OMRF is our retirement fund, met with all of the employees on that retirement fund. The city employees that are not on that retirement fund specifically are police and fire. They are both on state funds. But we've been talking about redoing our retirement plan. And if we consolidate what we're contributing into our retirement plans for both the defined benefit and the defined contribution, add them together, have the employee increase their input by 1%, we can increase the plan level. This increase in plan level means to the employee about a 33% increase in retirement benefits. It was nearly overwhelmingly positive from the employees. There were 3 individuals that would prefer not to change. Main reason for that is that for those 3 is they are newly hired, older employees that would honestly be looking at retirement before they're vested, and for them, the 1%, in their opinion, the 1% would do them better now than in the future. But with the overwhelming, with all of the other employees, those 3 did say that they would go with whatever the others liked. without a fuss. So we will be having OMRF draw up paperwork. Hopefully I will have it here, if not to adopt, at least review by the first meeting in November, with ultimate passage by the second meeting in November, where it could be put into place December 1st. And we're not in this, and also we're not going to be doing away with both of our plans. We'll still have both our defined benefit and our defined contribution. The main difference would be is that the city would not contribute anything to the defined contribution. If an employee wishes to put in more money into his retirement than the 3%, than the mandatory 3%, and we do have several employees that are doing this, they would go into, that extra contribution would go into their defined contribution plan and still be available for them. We are looking actively right now and starting meetings with about 6 to 9 property owners whose houses are, whose properties in some form of dilapidation and or are unsecured. We've got, if the city is to demo any buildings, we've got a budget of about $25,000. And it's estimated that it's going to cost about $5,000 per property to demo. If we do have to demo that property, we will put the liens against the property to try to recoup those costs. But right now, that would be $25,000 out of pocket if we did 5 at $5,000 apiece. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet with the owners of the property and be able to get them to address it without us having to do something, which is always the preference. But that is the road we're going down. Right now, just as a point of information, on October 29th, part of Hatfield Park will be closed, and the cemetery will be closed for Cherokee Strip Museum hay rides. Basically, what's going to happen, if you'll recall, at least 2 years ago, and maybe even last year, they opened up the museum for a night at the museum. The same concept, only at the cemetery. They're going to have speakers there that will reenact parts from that were important in Alva, and have 4 or 5 different stops there in the cemetery. I think it sounds like a great event, and I'm hoping they have a huge turnout. I know that their night at the museums have been a big hit, and hopefully this will be an extension of that. Some upcoming meetings that we've got going on. OEDA is going to be meeting here at the City Council, and OEDA is Oklahoma Economic Development Authority. We'll be meeting in these chambers on the 26th. This is a mandatory meeting for people that are applying for REAP funds, so we will have somebody at that meeting. At the next council meeting, we got this letter in the mail today. Our OMAG, who's here, you didn't bring this check with you too, Kip, did you? No. Okay. But the OMAG has released the 2013-2014. They found out that plan year's workers' compensation. Our unused portion of that loss fund is a little bit under $14,000. It'll be $13,853.99. This money has been transferred into our escrow account with OMAG, and is available upon written request and minutes of the governing body's authorization to distribute those funds. This will be an item that will be on our next agenda to address. October 20th, this Thursday, we'll be having there'll be an OML district meeting in Woodward. I did send out an email. I hope everybody received it. If you would like to go to that district dinner, please let me know so I can get you signed up. I know that future Councilman Sherman is going to go there for his mandatory trainings and has expressed an interest to stay over for this dinner. Anybody else that'd like to go, please let me know. Also, I received a invitation to the Donor Appreciation Dinner on NWOSU Donor Appreciation Dinner for October 27th. If there's a councilman that would like to take his wife to this dinner, please let me know as soon as possible. They need a response by the 20th for RSVP. Other than that, I believe that is everything that I had planned to address. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council or anybody may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dunham. Does the council have any questions for Joe Don? Now we'll move back up to item number 6, the discussion and approval of the appointment of Brandon Sherman to the Alva City Council to fill the vacancy in Ward 2, Seat 2. As we discussed at the last council meeting, Mr. Melton is moving out of the ward, becoming no longer eligible to serve as a council member for Ward 2. Mr. Sherman and I have spoken to some extent, and he has expressed interest in filling that vacancy, and therefore I recommend that the council appoint Brandon Sherman to fill the vacancy in Ward 2, Seat 2.
Make a motion to approve the appointment of Brandon Sherman to the City Council to fill the vacancy in Ward 2, Seat 2.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Eckhart, second by Councilman Miller, to approve the appointment of Brandon Sherman to the Alva City Council to fill the vacancy in Ward 2, Seat 2. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
All right. Item 7 is the swearing in of Brandon Sherman. Brandon, will you please do what Rick says? Huh? What's that? Oh. Oh, I see.
Mr. Sherman, if you will step forward, you will raise your right hand, we'll give you the oath of office. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma, and that you will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing, the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to your office other than the compensation allowed by law? And do you further swear or affirm you'll faithfully discharge your duties as councilperson for Ward 2, Seat 2 to the best of your ability? Congratulations.
Please join us. And thank you, Mr. Sherman, for your willingness to serve. Item 9 presentation and acknowledgement of the receipt of a $1,000 safety grant from Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. Mr. Pritchard, do you have a presentation for us?
I do. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and distinguished council members, and city officials, citizens. On behalf of OMAG, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. For almost 40 years, OMAG has been providing opportunities for cities and towns to work with us in risk management services. And during these times when we have economic crunches and we see shrinking budgets in our municipalities, OMAG is always looking for ways that we can provide some assistance with you all. With that in mind, we came up with this new program. It's called Public Works Safety Equipment Grant. And basically what we're doing is you apply for the grant to buy safety equipment for your employees to work with. And you guys applied for the grant, so it's with my pleasure that I am here to award you $1,000 to go towards the purchase of a gas detector for when you're working in trenching and confined spaces, and 3 lockout tagout kits. So if we can take a picture with you guys. I'll bring the real check up here too. Here's the real check.
That's the one I want.
Look at you. And can I get you to snap with my camera when you get done with your camera too? I would appreciate it. Thank you. All right. You can come up here too. No? Okay.
We have to stand on something.
1, 2, 3. One more.
Okay. Did it do? All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Your duties are other as assigned.
One other thing, Joe Don, when you guys get your equipment, have your public works guys take pictures of it with it and send to me. So
I can do that.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Pritchard. And at this time, I would take a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the $1,000 safety grant.
I'll make a motion to approve accepting the $1,000 safety grant for OMA.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Benson, a second by Councilman Eckhart, to acknowledge the receipt of a $1,000 safety grant from Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Benson,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
All right, thank you all, and thank you.
Take the check back, do I?
No, we're going to keep it. We'll keep
I
it.
wasn't
Thank
gonna leave until I make sure y'all have a blessed evening.
you too. All right. Item 10 is the discussion and approval on resolution number 2016-010, a fiscal year 2016-2017 budget amendment in the amount of $1,000 for an OMAG Public Works Safety Grant. So this is the budget or the amendment to the budget to accept that money in our budget.
Yeah, what I'd like to say really right now is that this work was prepared by this grant application was prepared by a lot of different people. Works, combination of work between Public Works and the Safety Director, Tim Nelson, to put this grant application together and identify what's needed for our Public Works Department. The leak detector, the multi-gas leak detector, is going to be very beneficial for our water department when they get down and have to work on sewer lines to detect for the detection of gases that can be very harmful. And also the lockout tagouts will certainly help with the repair of equipment that we have. the credit needs to go to those guys for taking the opportunity to figure out how to apply for this grant. This is a 50, 100 a matching grant. We have to match dollar for dollar. The money will be coming out of the water department's maintenance account, and they feel like they've got some money that they can transfer around to make these purchases happen. So with that, I'd recommend the approval of this resolution.
Is there a motion by the council to approve this resolution?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2016-010, fiscal year 2016-17 budget amendment in the amount of $1,000 for the OMAG Public Works Safety Grant.
I have a motion by Councilman Miller, second by Councilman Fisher, to approve resolution number 2016-010, a fiscal year 2016-2017 budget amendment in the amount of $1,000 for an OMAG Public Works Safety Grant. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Miller,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
Item 11, reports and inquiries by citizens. Anyone that'd like to make a public comment, you may address the council. Please introduce yourself, and we will limit you to 2 minutes per speaker. Does anyone care to make a comment this evening? Well, thank you all for being here. The next is remarks and inquiries by council members. Does council have any remarks or inquiries?
I was asked by a member of our community to personally thank the council and everyone involved in the repaving of Sunset Drive. That particular individual is very, very, very pleased that their street has been paved, and they just wanted me to express that personally to all of you in here.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully there's much more to come.
Yes.
I would like to just one final time express for Councilman Fisher and Councilman Miller gratitude for your service to this council. We'll look forward to putting Mr. Fisher to work in other capacities, I'm sure. Wes, and we just again wish you well.
Well, you beat me to it, Mayor, but I was getting ready to tell Mr. Miller I appreciate all the time he's given us in the years. And no matter who we get to replace you, it won't be as good as you are, especially right now. So maybe someday they'll grow into that. I appreciate all your time and efforts. And Mr. Fisher, I appreciate your time and efforts as well.
And Mr. Mayor, I just want to say my thanks and share my gratitude with everybody that is sitting here now, and those that will sit here in the future, and those that I've had the privilege to serve with in the past. I understand the sacrifices that everyone makes around this table, and while may not always hear it from people, it is a pleasure to sit here, and citizens that may not tell you that they appreciate it. I think that everyone does, and the sacrifice of not only the time, but if you're a business owner, that you can have more time spent doing city business than you may ever realize, with people stopping you and discussing things outside of this office. And thank you guys for making that effort and taking time out of your own lives. And I wish everybody here my absolute best wishes and good luck in the future.
Thank you. All right. We will adjourn the city council meeting.